Boom, we're pre-recorded today, and we're going to be going over some of the blockchain, Bitcoin, and cryptocurrency news. The Bear family had asked that we do this a little more frequently, so we're going to try our best. First, we're going to start off by taking a look at Bitcoin's price here. As we can see, we actually had a nice little candle wick up to that $7,400 mark we were looking for before quickly dropping back down. I do suspect we will actually get volume to that $7,400 mark, so perhaps that will happen today. But again, we'll be keeping a close eye on it because this will be the reversal in the trend. Hopefully, that's what we're looking for, or to be excited about, I guess. But the likely scenario is that we actually come back down to this $5,500 area support before retesting it, I think, one final time. But anyways, that should take the next few weeks, so we'll just keep watching it closely. We want to dive in and take a look at another great piece by Tyler Durden. Again, shout out to this monster of content creation. This guy writes like a maniac. If you haven't seen Zero Hedge, check them out. They've got some great stuff. But we've been following the Turkish lira's inflation reports recently. This has been important, I think, because the last time we had seen Bitcoin's price move, it was really related to the austerity measures that were put into place in places like Cyprus, Greece, etc. And we see that happening all over the world. So the Turkish inflation data reported today came out even hotter than expected, with the inflation jumping a surprising 17% in year over year in August, up from 15.9% above the 16.7% consensus, with the monthly inflation rising 2.3% alone. This was the highest increase in annual inflation going back to 2003, although they note here in Goldman Sachs' chart that mostly of the inflation is coming from non-goods and energy categories, which were the main drivers behind the headline figure rise, which means not your standard things like you would see the inflation maybe come out more so in shoes that were imported from a different country, this type of thing. So looking ahead, Bloomberg economist Ziad Daoud says Turkey's year-on-year inflation is likely to jump 19%. Now, again, the reason why this is so important is because it really pushes the credibility of fiat currencies into the spotlight. Again, this has been the undermining factor in the global economy for a long time now, yet people haven't been paying attention to that as the reason why. And that makes it difficult because when you don't know why something's wrong, it's a heck of a lot harder to make the decision to try to solve that problem with something else, which is essentially what the cryptocurrency space does. It solves those problems due to the natural illiquid supply. Although we can create as many of them as we want, companies like Doge or coins like Dogecoin, I think we're a prime example of that communication in viral transmission form has value. And no matter how we want to think about it, the reason why these fiat currencies can hold value is because people perceive them to. And people's perception is entirely mutable. It's like a set of beliefs, like religion to some degree. And that in itself is dangerous because those beliefs can shift on a dime. And that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing those beliefs in fiat currency and that faith and confidence really start to dip. And I think the underlying problem is starting to show itself, which is extremely exciting because until people are aware of the problem, the solution won't make any sense. Now, jumping into the solution, obviously the blockchain world, Alibaba actually has been ranked alongside IBM for globally for their number of blockchain patents filed in such a short period of time. So this is always nice to see because it just is, again, more energy into the tensioning of this string so that when we break through that downward bearish triangle that we're at right now, whenever that happens, Bitcoin's momentum and the blockchain world in general is going to continue to go up. And that's important for any of us that have been invested in this space because our 3 to 5 outlook on the years is really, really impressive. So I'm excited to be in this space. I want to thank all the Bear family for being so supportive of these wild volatility swings and the things we go through to continually try to produce content. Like I said, we'll try this news thing out for a little bit, see how it goes. And every now and then we'll jump into a live stream maybe once a week to go from there. So it says Chinese Alibaba only just seals first place with having filed a total of 90 blockchain-related patent applications, whereas IBM filed only 89. So they're pretty much identical there. MasterCard is in third place with 80 filings for use cases on blockchain, followed by Bank of America with 53. So the fifth of the news list on China's central bank, People's Bank of China, or the PBOC, filed a total of 44 patents. So all these companies are really aiming at the space and growth, and they know the technology is valuable. That's what these patents represent. These patents represent an investment in the valuable underlying technology. Now, obviously, we are bigger fans of open source. This is why memes, I think, have become such an interesting thing nowadays, is that it's an open viral transmission and communication of information on the way we choose for it to happen, and it's free. I think the internet has been such a large resource of information that our economies have started to really shift. Education has started to shift. The amount of things you can learn online, or the work that you're capable of accessing online, is significantly larger. So I think open source will be inevitable. I think that the younger generations are significantly more concerned about the well-being of each other instead of just the well-being of themselves. And that's a step in the right direction, because it's about focus on yourself to make sure that those waves of benefit actually affect your immediate family and community surrounding you. And I think more and more the younger generations are starting to recognize that in a global society, that's how you do that. So I do believe open source will end up inevitably winning over these patent ideas. It just makes sense to me. Some of the other news that was interesting was just, Japan and China and the Korea exchanges are looking into moving towards some of their headquarters in Malta. Bittrex actually just said the same thing. Bittrex invests 10% in a stake in the blockchain firm Palladium. Again, just this type of momentum is extremely important, because every time we're in a bearish market and you have positive news come out, that price isn't really priced in yet. We're still in a trend of perception. Now, until we break that trend of perception, any of the good news won't really show itself in the price. So I'm going to be really impressed for the next time we see a bull market in this space. We've looked at the charts before, and very quickly it's quite easy to see that if you, obviously, TradingView isn't working so smoothly right now, but if you were to zoom out here, okay, I'm not sure what happened there. Let's, there we go. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so here's the screen. I don't know what happened here. TradingView is giving me a little bit of a trouble right now. Anyways, the point of what I'm trying to say here is that the Bitcoin's price movement into higher extensions here is very, very likely. Going into the $28,000 range, very possible. But again, before we do any of that, it's really about the breakout past these previous supports. So we're keeping an eye on it closely, but easy estimations could put us up into the $80,000 mark if we're to follow similar extensions. And I think one of the most important parts in the transition of the way I felt about this was Ray Kurzweil's work in information technology and the growth of information technology. It's following a significantly more exponential curve. So a lot of the times we look at things linearly. So we're looking at the price growth and we're thinking it's going to happen in a linear equation, because it's what we're used to living life, more specifically. So when these breaks come, I think they're going to be so fast and so quick, because blockchain is information sharing technology. It's going to grow very, very quickly. So I think the price that we're going to see is going to grow just as quickly. I think it's the first time we've seen information technology brought into the world of money to the next degree, whereas things like Swift, these are extremely outdated systems. You can only type in so many characters. It's almost reminiscent of DOS in comparison. Even the transfers through PayPal, these things take days and days to clear. It's just unacceptable in our modern information age. So I think the price volatility and action of Bitcoin is actually going to grow enormously, not based off just confidence and faith in price, but the fact that information technology is the most valuable asset that the human species has stumbled into over the last few hundred years. We now have, and I just want to get excited about that for a second, because we now have access to almost all of humans' knowledge, whether it's right or wrong. We have access to all of human beliefs on the internet, and it's a free market of ideas where if you have good things to say, they will take off. If you have dumb things to say, they'll take off. If you have controversial things to say, they might take off. There's no saying what people might find interesting and or valuable. It's up to the free market, and the free market of ideas on the internet has been explosive. It's one of the reasons why companies like Facebook and YouTube and Twitter thrived in the first place, and now we see their slow demise as they start to hurt their initial investments, which was into that open and free marketplace of ideas, as they've started to censor certain things. And blockchain is going to inevitably replace those sources of information as well. And I do assume that likely we would see a shift in the dopamine and serotonin triggers that we have laced into Facebook, actually laced into the next form of social media, again using these types of logarithmic growths, that they'll tend to sway more towards people doing good in the world for that serotonin. So instead of just a like, there's probably a way to actually benefit from the work that you're doing on social media. So I do suspect an enormous growth over the next 5 years in this entire industry where blockchain, because it's information sharing technology, again, like all the other information sharing technology, it gets cheaper, and it brings the power back to the individual. You know, cell phones when they first started were extremely expensive and almost useless, and only the very rich could have them. But now everybody has a computer that is more powerful in their pocket than they previously could have ever had, that had filled a room worth of space in the 1980s. So again, just the growth of this technology, I think the price is going to follow suit quickly, because I think we're going to drastically change our perceptions of value. Anyway, so we saw an all green market just yesterday, which is great. We had Bitcoin up to $7,300 on its high in the 24-hour market cap. Ethereum was up there at $294. Again, Ethereum has some bumps and tumbles here. We really want to see its second layer technologies come out. I'm not even going to talk about Ripple. Bcash had a great day. They had just run their stress test. And there's a lot of positive news come out about that. Although I do suspect that if BCH can do that, all the other UTX, POW blockchains are going to be able to pull off the same remarks. Again, remember, this is open source technology. This is not closed ideas building in Tesla was a revealer of that too, just giving away all the patents to the Tesla cars. I think more and more we're going to see that growth of information, because the millennials care more about the growth of their own self and their community than they do the brand that they want to support. And I think that's going to make a huge difference in the way the markets grow. So if we jump over to CoinMarketCap, we'll leave it off today with this. We'll just take a look at everything as a whole. We've got a $235 billion market cap, obviously a significant loss at our high from $750 billion, but I'm assuming that the best thing to remember here, at least as an optimistic entrepreneur, is that the majority of that money from the digital asset ecosystem has moved into the traditional system to pay employees, to build companies, to move assets into more stable formats. Especially with the such significant sharp growths, it's smart to do that. There's no significant movers that I'm particularly interested in, other than we did see a great few runs on almost everything. Dogecoin is up another 12% today. That's just wild. Again, I think that is just another highlight of how important the transfer of viral information is. Dogecoin is the perfect representation of that, and I think it has now become the picture or the poster dog of that kind of sentiment. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this content today. I just wanted to roll over some of the quick news. If you have any comments, thoughts, things we might have missed, please leave that down below. If you're interested in joining the Bear family, smash that subscribe button. If you're new all as well, please check the Telegram links in the channel below, or in the comments below there. Description, I guess. There's a lot of great people in the Telegram channel that are all very supportive of helping others learn. So when I'm not around, there are other people that are able to help you if you have something, maybe you don't know what to do with updating your Trezor or your Ledger, which is definitely where you should store all your digital assets. If you need maybe resources, there's a ton of brilliant people in there. So join the Telegram channel in the description below. This is Tio the Arcane Bear, and we'll see you guys on the other side.